She never expected her life to fall apart on the very same day she received the news that should have brought pure joy. The morning had started beautifully, soft sunlight, warm tea, and a quiet hope in her heart. But everything changed the moment she told Adrian Hale, the millionaire she had loved for years, that she was carrying his child. His face didn't soften, it froze. And in that single second, she understood that the man she trusted wasn't ready for the kind of love she thought they shared. He didn't shout, didn't argue. He simply walked away, leaving behind silence so heavy it felt like the walls were closing in. She stood there, stunned, holding her belly as if shielding the tiny life inside from the coldness she had just witnessed. A question echoed in her mind. How do you raise a child alone when the person you counted on turned his back without hesitation? But deep inside, another voice rose. A quiet spark that refused to die. She whispered to her unborn baby, I won't let this break us. And in that moment, she made a promise to protect, to fight, and to rise stronger than the pain that tried to crush her. Viewers watching this right now, tell us, have you ever felt strength appear exactly when you thought you had none left? Everyone around her expected her to fall apart after Adrian left, but something unexpected happened instead. She grew stronger. It didn't happen overnight. It came in pieces, small moments where she surprised even herself. Like the night she sat alone on the floor of her apartment, holding the first ultrasound picture. She had cried quietly at first, but then a strange calm settled over her, as if the tiny heartbeat on that screen was telling her, I'm here, don't give up on us. Still, whispers followed her everywhere. Neighbors who smiled politely but judged silently. Old friends who stopped calling because they didn't know what to say. Even her own doubts tried to creep in when the bills piled up, and sleep became a luxury. But every time fear tried to convince her she wasn't enough, she would place a hand on her belly and feel a gentle kick, like a reminder that she wasn't alone in this fight. One evening, while walking home from her shift, she overheard two co-workers talking about her. How will she manage? One whispered. Instead of breaking her, their words lit a spark inside her chest. She didn't want pity. She wanted a future where her child would never feel abandoned, and just when she thought the pressure was too much, a letter arrived, an unexpected opportunity that could change everything. But she hesitated, wondering, was she ready to take the risk alone? The letter sat on her kitchen table for hours, unopened, almost glowing under the dim light. Something in her heart whispered that whatever waited inside would change the direction of her life. But she feared that kind of change, the kind that demands courage, the kind that forces you to step into the unknown without a hand to hold. Still, as the night deepened and her baby moved gently inside her, she finally tore it open. It was an acceptance into a training program she had applied to months ago, back when her life still felt steady. The program promised a stable income, housing support, and a future she had once dreamed of. But to join, she would have to move to a new city alone, leave her comfort, leave her memories, and start completely fresh. Her first instinct was fear. How can I begin again when I'm already exhausted? But then another thought rose. What if this is exactly the chance I prayed for? She imagined her son years later, asking her how she managed to build a life for him. Would she tell him she stayed where she was scared? Or that she walked toward her future, even when her legs trembled? As she prepared for bed, a soft knock startled her. It was her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Harlow, holding a small baby blanket she had knitted. For your little one, she said with a warm smile. That simple kindness hit her harder than she expected. Maybe the world wasn't as cold as Adrian had made her feel. And as she held the blanket close, a quiet realization wrapped around her heart. Sometimes the strongest beginnings start right after the deepest endings. She didn't expect the next morning to hit her with such a powerful truth, the kind that makes you stop in the middle of the room and breathe differently. As she packed the first small box for her move, she found an old picture of herself and Adrian, taken during happier days. For a moment, she just stared at it, wondering how two people who once dreamed together could end up worlds apart. But instead of sadness, something surprising washed over her, relief. She finally understood that walking away from someone who didn't value her wasn't a loss. It was freedom. With every item she packed, she felt lighter. But life rarely lets a person move forward without testing them one more time. Just as she sealed her last box, her phone buzzed. It was Adrian. The message was short, almost cold. Heard you're moving. Is that necessary? She stared at the screen, her heart thudding. After months of silence, now he cared. Now, when she was finally finding her strength. Her fingers trembled as she typed a reply but paused. She didn't owe him explanations. Not when he had walked away without looking back. She simply turned off her phone and returned to her boxes. Her baby kicked gently, almost as if encouraging her. Later that afternoon, while waiting for her bus, a sudden wave of dizziness hit her. She gripped the railing, heart racing, breath shallow. A stranger rushed to steady her. "Are you okay?" "You look pale," he said with genuine concern. She nodded weakly, embarrassed but grateful. That moment reminded her that she wasn't invincible. She needed to take care of herself if she wanted to take care of her child. As the bus doors opened and warm air rushed out, she realized something important. This journey wasn't just about running from the past. It was about stepping toward a future she still had the power to shape. And the next chapter was waiting just one bus ride away. The new city greeted her with a mix of fear and hope, two feelings that don't usually walk together, yet somehow felt perfectly right for this moment. She stepped off the bus holding only 2 bags, a folder of documents, and the quiet heartbeat growing inside her. The air felt different here. Lighter, kinder. It was the first time in months she felt like her life wasn't trapped inside someone else's shadow. But she didn't expect her first day to come with a moment that would stay with her forever. While searching for the address of the training center, she stopped near a small park to rest. Children were playing, laughter filling the air. She watched them for a moment, imagining her son one day running freely, smiling without fear of raised voices or cold silences. That vision alone filled her with a strength she didn't know she still had. Just then, a woman with a stroller paused beside her. "First time here?" she asked kindly. She nodded, and the woman smiled warmly. "You'll like it. This city gives people second chances." Those simple words landed softly in her heart, almost like a blessing. But as she headed toward her appointment, she received surprising news. The program required a strict medical clearance, and the doctor wanted extra tests because of her earlier dizziness. Waiting for the results, she felt her courage tremble again. What if something is wrong? What if she came all this way only to face another storm? That evening, alone in her small temporary room, she held the knitted baby blanket close. She whispered softly, "I'm doing this for you. I won't let fear stop us now." But she didn't know that the real test, the moment that would define her strength forever, was waiting quietly in the next sunrise. The next morning carried a strange stillness, the kind that makes your heart sense a turning point before your mind can name it. She sat in the clinic waiting room, hands clasped tightly, eyes fixed on the floor as footsteps and murmurs echoed around her. When the doctor finally called her name, she felt her breath catch. Every step toward that office felt heavier than the last. She wasn't afraid for herself. She was afraid for the tiny life depending on her. The doctor spoke gently, explaining that her earlier dizziness came from exhaustion and low iron. Nothing dangerous. But she needed rest, proper meals, and less stress. Relief flooded through her, so powerful it brought tears to her eyes. For the first time in months, she felt the ground steady beneath her again. She thanked the doctor with a trembling smile and stepped outside, where the sun warmed her face as if welcoming her into a new beginning. Later that week, she officially started the program. She worked hard, studied late, and learned new skills with a determination that surprised even her instructors. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was building a future for her child. Every small success felt like a quiet victory, proof that she could rise even after being abandoned. Months passed, and on a gentle spring morning, she held her newborn son for the first time. He was tiny, warm, perfect. The moment he wrapped his small fingers around hers, she understood something powerful. Adrian hadn't walked away from her life. He had walked away from his own blessing. She hadn't been left behind. She had been set free. Years later, As her son ran through their small but happy home, laughing with a confidence she once feared he would never know, she felt a deep peace settle in her heart. She had built this life from courage, from tears, from resilience. She had proven that strength doesn't come from who stays, it comes from who decides to rise. And every time she watched her son smile, she whispered the truth she now believed with all her heart. Walking away was his choice. Becoming stronger was mine.